Hello and welcome to Sin City Soundwaves, where we celebrate growing up in Las Vegas and music memory. Beyond the casinos and showrooms are the local friends, colleagues, neighbors, people we went to school with. We talk about how Vegas has changed and what's the same. We talk about the music we listen to now and what reminds us of our youth, who we've seen in concert here in Vegas and who they'd like to see. We ask if they're a quintessential Vegas song. Today, our guest is Chad Smith, vocal and bass guitar founder of Hemlock.
Hello, everybody.
This is going to be super fun because Chad has been talking with me for a while before I hit record and confessed that he hasn't even the question.
No, I want it to be raw and real. I don't want to prepare answers. Even though I wasn't Boy Scouts when I was a kid and they taught you to be prepared, right now I'm unprepared with lots of stories in my brain and heart.
This is going to be super fun. For listeners who may not know, Hemlock is a band that is based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but whose home is really on the road. And they are really all over the place.
Yeah, we'll play wherever they went. It's places like Chile and Coyote's movie that people have never heard of. We've rocked there several times.
I'm born in New Mexico, right? I'm a transplant.
Yeah.
And I'm not a native Nevadan, although I've lived here longer than I have anywhere else. You and your brother, Brian, founded Hemlock in
1993, 31 years ago. It's insane, and we're still doing it.
I have fond memories of 93. Your brother plays drums.
Yep.
Jared Johnson plays guitar and background vocals. Jesse Ward also does background vocals and plays guitar. You have performed and toured Slayer, Korn, Ministry, Rob Zombie, Soulfly, Lamb of God, Slipknot, Disturbed.
Awesome.
Marilyn Manson, Hatebreed, Propane, Obituary, Mastodon, Knocked, Killswitch, Engaged, Chimera, Drowning Pool, another favorite, System of a Down, Machine Head, OTEP, Megadeth, Danzig, Devil Driver, I think the original Mist.
We opened for the Misfits at the Key Club before, but it wasn't when Glenn was singing. We've opened for Dan 3 times. We've gotten to play both sides, but not the original.
Not the original. Doyle is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sepultura, Meshuggah, Seven Dust. Headpeak?
Headpeak.
Okay, Headsets
for Head Planet Earth or Planetary Evolution. They're from Huntington Beach, but they tour all around the world as well.
Okay. Exodus?
Yeah.
Love Exodus. Arch Enemy.
That was with their original singer, Angela. When we were on tour with Slayer, Arch Enemy was awesome.
And Doyle is dating.
Yeah. I was going to say Angela, but that's the wrong name.
No,
the Blue Air. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yep. And it tons more.
There's probably another 1,000 bands.
Yeah. And you've done your own headlining and co-headlining. Right now, you're even doing that across Europe.
It just keeps going and going like the Energizer Bunny.
You tour about 150 to 200 days out of the year, right?
Last year was crazy. We did 134 shows. It doesn't count travel days or whatever. We pushed real hard because it was the anniversary. This year, I think we're doing 50 to 60 shows. Still a lot for most bands. For us, we're like, it's just barely warming up.
You've done newest albums are Carmageddon and Violence and Victory. And both were released February 8, 2020. 11 tracks of awesomeness on each. And you say they're the best sounding Hemlock albums ever.
Because the recording technology keeps getting better and better. I mean, some of our older albums, they're raw and they're fun. But when we were playing the heavy stuff back in 93, 95, recording engineers didn't know how to mix heavy tones. So it was a little more muddy or whatever, but stuff has advanced so much now that you can actually get the clarity and the chunk and the heavy.
Okay.
And you hear that a lot even with other bands too, like old Deftones albums and the old Korn albums. They're just a little bit muddier and it was kind of ahead of its time, but now you can get the clarity out of so many different just recording tricks, the trade and engineers and stuff. So
going back and remastering any of them?
We've done a little bit of that here and there. Yeah, done a little bit. But for our 25-year anniversary, we went back and re-recorded a couple of each album. So it's not like a re-release or a greatest hits. We actually went back and re-recorded 3 songs off of this album, 2 off of this, 1 off of this, 3 off of this. and put on like the best of kind of, but actual re-recorded, so that way the clarity was there and you could actually hear it all.
Okay.
Kind of like those old Misfit records. You love them, but you could tell that they were recorded pretty close to something like on a boombox. We had to play at CBGB's before it closed. I mean, we've been around a long time. So many places, so many stories. That's why I didn't need to prepare. We'll share stories. It'll be fun.
All right. We love it. Thank you for being here 10 days before you head back out. I love it. What schools did you go to in the Valley?
CT Sewer Elementary. That's what they taught us when we were kids. They taught us all the nicknames for the elementary schools. The jokes that CT Sewer, T Soul with our elementary school. And we went to Brown Junior High. And that's actually when I started playing bass guitar. And then we went to basic high school at Henderson. And that's when Hemlock was formed in 1993.
93.
We actually had a mosh pit / riot in the gymnasium at one of the assemblies.
But when you started play, your mom had to take you to the shows because you were too young to be at the venue.
My mom or a guitar player's mom, because in Vegas you have to be over 21. There was a place called Club Rock back in the day, back out on Club Rock, but also Eddie's. 5150 used to play at Eddie's. And I remember we had to park outside and wait till it was a school night. We had to wait till 10:30. I was taking a nap in the front seat of the truck, go play our show, and go to school the next day tired. We had to do this battle of the bands at Eddie's, and we used to play Club Rock and all the places back in the day, but all were 21 and over. We did better at the Elks Lodge and the JCs because we could invite friends from school and promote. We didn't know any people over 21 when we were 15, 16. We did get a few, but it taught us to perform more, went over new fans instead of just high school buddies. So we did both.
Now, you do all the artwork for the T-shirts. And were you doing the merch then too?
Yeah.
The merch in the schools?
I'd sell T-shirts and cassettes out of my backpack, like a drug dealer with drugs. We came out with a 2-song cassette, and we were selling it for $5 a piece, which was a lot back in 93, but we wanted to make extra money to order more cassettes and T-shirts. I sold 100 of them in 2 days. It was cool because we had more money to dump back into the band. Many of our friends' bands would get $100 to $200 through a party or a cake and then be out of money. Even back then when we were kids, we treated it like a business even back then.
Good.
As kids, when we were like, all right, now we're going to work on our next 6-song cassette. And so we would always save up our own money and try to always treating it like a business. Even though we had fun, you got to put it back into the band.
Did any of your teachers buy your T-shirts or come to the shows?
I don't think any of the teachers did. A couple teachers were more supportive, but I don't think any of them ever came to the shows.
Shame.
They probably heard about the mosh pits or something. And
I didn't start teaching till 95. I didn't know that. I would have been there.
Yeah, Huntridge was our song.
Yeah.
We get to open up our very first national show because we also put our cassettes for sale in a glass case at the lobby of the Huntridge. Like, we keep selling for $5. We were outselling at all the other bands, and we were just hardworking kids. And we would go hand out flyers and try to always hustle and making friends and just being around. And instead of hiding backstage, we started climbing up the charts on the Huntridge glass case, how many cassettes you sold. They started offering us national shows.
Nice.
So we got to open up for the band Fight, which was Rob Halford from Judas Priest's band. We had to open up for the Fight at the Huntridge Theater in probably 96, maybe. Okay. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but that was our first national gig. It was cool. Shortly after, it was either DRI or Suicidal Tendency. We opened for both at the Huntridge, but I don't remember which. I have to go back in my flyer book and see which one was first. But Suicidal Tendencies at the Huntridge Theater, Packed to the Brim. We used to go to all the shows we weren't playing. I saw Pantera on the Vulgar Display Power Tour, saw Sepultura on the Chaos AD Tour, and then to be able to play that same stage as those guys. So we got to open up for it was just countless shows at the Huntridge. Had to start turning some of them down because we didn't want to overplay.
Right.
But we would open up for Soulfly, Hazard, Sepultura. So many shows. Met Dee Snider backstage at the the Soulfly show. Dee Snider was back there because he'd done that Strangeland movie with them and Soulfly on it. So that's Dee Snider. We opened up for Machine Head, System of a Down, all kinds of bands over the years. And System of a Down now, you couldn't even. They're arena huge to where you could eat it.
So Biohazard, they opened, I don't remember who they opened for, but it was a Thomas Map.
The Slayer tour with Machine. Yeah, I was there. We were there.
Yeah, we were down for
That I think that might have been Divine Intervention album from Slayer. If not, it was the Diabolus one after that. But I remember it was Slayer, Biohazard, and Machine Head because it was Pantera and Type O Negative that we saw that Thomas and around that same.
I saw that whole concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Type O
knew
Negative was somebody.
I knew that's why we were friends. We've been in
The same thing. We're standing next to
We
each
got
other.
to open up.
I always stood way down for
We got to open for Type O Negative's 3 shows before Pete passed. It was cool.
I had to look at my ticket stubs because half the time I never paid attention to who was opening.
You remember Pete? He was about 8 feet tall and he had that chain instead of a strap.
Yes.
They were awesome. But of course, Pantera is one of my all-time favorite metal bands.
I saw Pantera and the Thomas and Mack when it was the end of their tour.
Yeah, they came out in garbage bags and
Yes,
throwing Twitter.
yes, everywhere. People were screaming for their money back if they passed out on stage. It was so dark, passed out on stage, and then people were rioting the stuff off the walls in the bathroom and were so angry.
I have a story about this. Phil, I love the band. They were amazing, but partied too hard. People were like, oh, yeah, let's go party. And you see all these shows and they're like,
all the time.
it's sad. Because you go the night before in Albuquerque and they hate you or something. But then they come to Vegas and they're all hungover.
They were
they're not even hungover. Phil passed out. They were throwing toilet paper
on the stage. Yep.
And all right, motherfuckers, I promise when I come to Vegas next time, free show. They came back. $35 tickets.
Yeah.
They never did their free show that they promised. I'm still holding them to it. They promised us a free show because they were so bad. It was legendary, but at the same time, I wanted to see them A-game it. Same thing with Pearl Jam with the Aladdin.
Yeah.
He was drunk. So somebody threw a shoe on stage and he poured wine in a shoe and drank wine out of the shoe. And I was like, that's pretty rock and roll. But at the same time, I kind of want to watch them play. I shouldn't be bought tickets for the show.
Just to watch the craziness unfold. Was off sale again in Seattle when it fell on set. Phil Anselmo and the Illegals opened for Slayer.
Okay.
Saw Phil after the show and reminded him of the show here. I said, Phil,
You still owe us a free show in Vegas, Phil.
Show in Vegas.
Yeah.
You didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Also saw, I don't remember the nightclub on Harmon. There was a nightclub on Harmon for a while that had the open
Pinkies. There was one called the Rock Star. We never played there, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was in the early 2000s. It was way after the Shark Club closed. It was very industrial and all the apartment complexes. Not like it. Vince Neil was passed out trying to go in through the outdoor. Hanging on the bar. He kept blowing his hair. It was sad. People kept going in and him hanging on the bar. And at one point, I got up to almost go try to help him. And finally, somebody helped him.
There's so many of these bands, and it's so crazy because I don't drink at all. So I usually have to play in the tour manager or whatever. But there's so many of these bands, especially in the 80s and the 90s, because you could get away with a lot more debauchery because you didn't have everybody filming you on their cell phone.
Yeah.
So the tour managers, I don't think, ever got paid enough because basically tour manager means full-time babysitter for those guys. Let me open the door for the Vince. It's the wrong way. Or dragging them onto the stage. Some of those stories, those tour managers, it's crazy what they put those guys through.
And I already told you, I'm allergic, so I don't drink.
Yeah.
I'm gone to clubs and just sit nursing my seltzer water, talk to people who are on their phone or watching or just sit and watch. It's great people watching. Vegas is great for people watching because you sit and watch people who think they're going to take Vegas down.
It's going to take the shyness.
Vegas takes them down like
Yeah, we used to go to Phoenix, do shows, and drive down with the friends' bands and stuff. And the very first time they were like, last call. And they start turning on the lights. You're like,
what is
yeah, I grew up here in Vegas.
Yeah,
right? What's that mean? Last call. And they're like, yeah, we're shutting the bar down. Right?
Yeah.
The place is closed.
The first time I heard last call, I was in Tucson and I didn't know what that meant either. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
So crazy.
These lights started going on and I'm like, I was like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, what are you talking?
And the kids, it's so funny because you grow up in Vegas and you just
roll with them. People just keep drinking and going.
Vegas is an animal within its own right.
Love it. Do you remember the first piece of music you bought for yourself? What did you purchase?
I have an older brother that's our drummer, and he would always buy the albums, and I would just listen to his.
Really?
Because he always got it. He had to get every single one. I remember it started with Back to the Future. we were kids, and he was able to get it on vinyl, and it had Huey Lewis and rock and roll and all that. We were little, and my mom was kind of strict, but we were allowed to listen to that because we heard our parents listening to Creedence Clearwater or Neil Diamond or something, Eddie Money. But then we were stepping up to Huey Lewis. Cool. And then from there, the rowdiness of Bon Jovi.
Oh,
My dad took us to Bon Jovi and Skid Row at Thomas and Mack. I was in 6th grade. Skid Row was brand new. This long hairs, Ashton Bach, and we loved him already, but he came us all. And we were like, oh, this is great. This is great. And both bands were awesome. We saw them at the Thomas and Mack, and then after that, it branched to Guns N' Roses, and then from there, you go heavier to Metallica. Before you know it, you're listening to Cannibal Corpse. Huey Lewis was the gateway in Slayer and everything. We were listening to everything from Eddie Money to Deicide. We love all kinds of music. I think my early days, I might have bought a cassette for myself. Probably Bon Jovi, shortly followed by Faith No More. I love Faith No More. Okay. I got the Real Thing album 3 times because I listened to it so many times it would wear out, and I'd buy it again and buy it again. But most of the time I was lucky enough just to filch out my brother's collection and listen to his stuff. So we listened to everything like Shotgun Messiah and Dangerous Toys. But then we would also get Pantera, Biohazard, Propane, Fight. There's a lot of people that don't know Fight. They were ahead of their time where they had the singing and the heavy and the crunch and all of it.
Yeah. I'm still wrapping my head around Huey Lewis. Slippery slope.
Huey Lewis, he has that smoky voice. We heard a rumor that he lived up near Missoula, Montana. And because we're funny like that, we're like, let's go see. We're asking people in Missoula. They're like, he's up in the Bitterroot Valley. One of our friends in another band was like, my roommate used to clean their house. So it's like up here by the river. So we go up there, looking around, and heard he lived across the street from Hank Williams.
Okay.
Too. So this is back before we had our bus. We were in our van and trailer. So we're up in Missoula, Montana. My brother, being a huge Huey Lewis fan, he's like, all right, I'm going to write this note. And it was this really nice note. It said, hey, Huey Lewis, we're in the band Hemlock. It's totally different styles of music, but we wanted to thank you for being rock and roll and keeping our gateway. So we go up there and I'm like, all of us get out. It's going to be too much. My wife was with us. I'm like, Jill, a girl always kind of calms the nerves so it doesn't look like there's a gang of long-haired tattooed guys at your front door. But my brother was the mega fan, so they went up to the door and they're knocking, and they hear the thing opening, and my brother getting goosebumps. Yeah, it's Huey Lewis's house. No, this isn't the right house, but he lived over there. We're like, oh, cool. We thought it was funny, so we drove the van over there. Little yard gatekeeper kind of like house up by the front. And we're like, we don't want to pull him in on the property because the road winded up really far. Like, we're going to get shot. We don't want to get killed by Huey Lewis. We just want to leave him this note. We're pretty sure this is the house because they had pointed and it was kind of further. We're like, pretty sure. And then we started looking. We're like, we got to get back to the show because we got to go load in and sound check and everything. So we left this little t-shirt, 2 CDs, nice little note, a couple of Hemlock Jägermeister shot glasses, and a bag. And then hung it on the post by the guards keeper because there was nobody there. And we left. And we were like, I think that was it. Pretty sure it was it. So then we went, we did our show. It was awesome. I made a joke about it on stage. Yeah, we were stalking. People were like, it probably was it. I don't know. It's cool. So then 2 or 3 days later, we're playing a show up in Rapid City, South Dakota there. And I'm checking my phone messages, and Huey Lewis left us a voicemail. And I was like, oh, Lord, awesome. Check this out. So I set up, the PA was already set up for our show. I played it through the PA, and my brother's getting teary-eyed because Huey Lewis, Brian Smith, I want to thank you for the nice note. Left this really nice message. I haven't checked out the CD yet, but I definitely will. Thank you very much. And it's totally Huey Lewis left this message. And he probably threw our Hemlock CD away or something. But you never know. He's a closet metalhead. His kids are into it. I don't know. But he was at least a gentleman enough to call us and thank us for the little swag bag. Back in the day, it was Michael Jackson, Madonna, Huey Lewis, Lionel Richie. Yeah, he was up there with all those guys. So it was really rad that he took the time to call us instead of sending like a restraining order.
Did you save the message?
We do have it. My brother has it. We almost added it onto an album, but they were like, that kind of discredits the niceness and the sweetness of him leaving the message. So we never put it on an album. But my brother has it on a hard drive. We listened to it, and then followed by The Power of Love.
I think your brother needs to wear the Huey Lewis shirt on stage.
He wanted to have Huey Lewis sign his neck so he could get the heart with the fire.
Oh, yeah.
The Tower of Love on his neck, get it tattooed. We never followed up.
But that album, I Want a New Drug, was like everybody.
Oh, it's insane. It's one of the albums out there.
I think every song off of that album was a hit, huge.
We were Huey Lewis stalkers. That's why Huey Lewis still like.
I love it. And you said Skid Row was the first concert.
Is it Vegas now?
Yes, he does. Sebastian Bach did.
I need to try and put it out there. I need to figure out some way where I can get a message.
I want
Sebastian.
I know I do this show for locals, like born and raised. I want Sebastian.
He's a transplant.
I do, because I am a big Sebastian Bach fan.
I need to figure out how to get a hold of him, because you know how like on rap albums, I don't know if you listen to rap, but they always give like shout outs for that.
Yeah.
Or this is what Biggie used to say, or this is what Pac would do, or whatever. And give them a shout out.
They do.
On our last album, we have a song called Enslaved by Currency. I was just writing the lyrics, and it's just talking about how you go through life because you're a slave to money, and it sucks because it shouldn't be that way. It should be about good people. I hate money and greed and all that. I want people to just be good people, but it is the necessary evil of the world. So at the very end of our song, just like my band, the Bachers. I've never met him before. I give him a name. In our song, I say, just like my man, the Bachers said, you can't be king of the world if you're slave to the grind. I wanted to show him and gave him a shout out in our song and see what he said. Even if it's just a thumbs up, I'm ready to get a check out of it, because it was my tribute to our early roots. It impresses your 15-year-old brain or whatever. The Bachers said, king of the world, just slave to the grind.
He and I are big Kiss fans.
Yeah.
We would nerd out about
There you go.
Kiss fans.
If anybody knows how to get a hold of the Bacher, one.
He was at Zero Records just signing, and I wasn't in town. So I missed going.
If you ever meet him before I do, tell him about Hemlock having a shout out in one of their songs.
And I know how to get a hold of you now. So
there we go. Let's connection dots.
Again, 6 degrees of separation. I'm convinced.
Don't they call it degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yes, but I'm convinced that people who are native in Vegas or locals, there's 6 degrees, there's 6 points of separation.
Maybe we got 4 degrees to Sebastian Bach. We'll get there sooner.
I'm sure Mike Fitzgerald somehow knows.
Yeah. So we're friends with Five Finger Death Punch. Chris Cale, their bass player, is a good friend of mine.
That's how
he used to be in local bands that would do shows and open up for Hemlock, and we've been knowing him for a long time. And then I was actually in Walmart. We were on tour at like 3 a.m. because their original bass player was named Matt Snell. And we got to open up for Five Finger Death Punch on a couple of the Rockstar Mayhem Festival shows when Matt was in the band. So then one of the times we were in Walmart, I was wandering around 3 a.m. just tired, and I looked.
Sure wasn't 114 out, because that's what we used to do when it was really hot out. That's when you went and did your show.
Yeah. We would park our motorhome at Walmart so people could go in and buy food or use the restroom. And if the other guys were awake, they could go sit in the garden and talk and read magazines. So I saw a magazine and I saw Five Finger Death Punch on the front. I'm like, hold on. That's my friend Chris. I texted him. It's like, sorry, I know it's 3 a.m. Are you fucking Five Finger Punch now? And he texted me, yeah, man, I tried out for the gig. I got the gig. This is probably 15 years ago. I don't know how long he's been in the band, but he's a good friend. I think he also was involved somehow or was a part of that show where they did a super group that had Evan from Biohazard.
Yeah, that was filmed here.
Yeah. So I know that Chris Cale could probably stalk Sebastian Bach for me, but I also don't want a restraining order from Sebastian Bach, even though it'd be cool to frame it and put it on the wall.
Like Sheldon and right on.
The show?
Yeah,
the young Sheldon TV show.
No, nothing when he's grown up. Why can't I think of it?
No, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Google real quick. But yeah, I know I can stalk him somehow, but I want it to be a little more natural, organic, to where he doesn't think I'm a creep. I wanted to give a shout out to some early. Neil Diamond was a huge influence. As far as metal, we loved Slayer, Sepultura, Bang.
Yeah,
there you go.
Remember he used to frame all him?
I've only seen one episode.
Yeah, so as an adult, Sheldon Cooper frames all of his restraining orders.
I'll get one from Sebastian himself, but it's cool. So many music and bands we grew up listening to. We've had the opportunity to open for Megadeth a couple times. We got to do 4 or 5 shows with Disturbed, but then going more old school than that. We loved Machine Head and Fear Factory. That opened up for Slipknot a bunch of times. One of our favorite hardcore groove metal is Propane. They were big in the mid-90s in the States. Then they didn't really ever keep continuing the U.S. So we have diehards here in the States, that are huge in Europe. And we've had the opportunity to tour with them over in Europe 3 times. And it's awesome. We did some shows in Germany. They're a huge influence on us. We love them.
Have you gotten to play Wacken yet?
No, we're working on it. That's the big one.
I've never done it.
That's 200 or 300,000 people. We did a festival called Sticky Fingers Festival. And in Friedwitz, Germany, kind of over by Nuremberg a little bit. And Hemlock was in the middle. There was 3 bands before us, and then it was Hemlock, and then Dust Bowl, Propane. So good. I can't say enough good things about Propane. And then Red Fang headlined the whole thing. And it was just cool part of that festival. And there was about 2,500 people when we played, 2,500, not 200,000.
Yeah.
But still, it was great. And it was rad because we had a bunch of people showing up from the year before or 2 years before wearing Hemlock shirts coming back to support.
Nice. Yeah.
It's crazy when you're on the other side of the world and people are screaming the words, enjoying and connecting from the music, the international language.
I tell people all the time, I can get rid of any other media, but I can't get rid of the music.
Best concert you've seen in Vegas?
Oh, Jiminy. Probably at the Hunters with Vulgar Display and Power Pantera. And they sold it out. It's cool. They were still hungry and on fire. And I think they sold it out in 12 days or something like that. And we were there, me and my brother and our original guitar player, Richard. It was insanity, raw and real. They had something to prove by the time they got too big and cared more about alcohol than fans is. It was still fun to see, but it wasn't like that. They had the fire then.
Yeah.
Hopefully followed up by the Sepultura Chaos AD, and they were both at the Hunters. Amazing shows where you walk away and you can't stop thinking about the concert. The Hunters always had its own smell and vibe.
Hundreds did have its own smell, didn't it?
I love the House of Blues. That's one of my favorite places to play here in town. But if the Hunters will ever let hooligans back into play, Hemlock would have loved to do a comeback show, but they dumped. I heard a punk rock guy bought it, but I also saw the plans that they were putting in these booths. It looks like kind of like Sinatra, like where they have a nice seating area.
I haven't seen the plan.
Yeah, like they're not going to let any metal shows or punk shows in there. They're putting too much money into it for it to be like in the 90s.
Some of us are getting older.
Here you go, VIP booth for $400. It's not punk rock enough.
We just saw Wasp. A lot of us were still in our seats or jumping around. I've never seen Wasp live.
That'd be a good one to see. Princess Xena, Warrior's brother, right? Did you know Lucy Lawless and Blackie Lawless?
That's his sister.
Xena, the Princess Warrior. I've never seen Wasp live, but I heard they still put on a great show. Where did they play here in town?
They played at the House of Blues.
Really?
They did. Yeah.
Good crowd.
Good crowd.
Awesome.
Really good crowd. And Elvis' mic stand, just when he stands on that and rocks back and forth, was phenomenal.
They had that tour booked and then they had to reschedule. I don't know if it was COVID or if it was a different thing.
I think it was COVID, and then they're coming back around, I think, in December.
I like it.
Blackie teared up because so many people came out to see him. There was a lot of rumor mills. And again, talking about Gen X, we grew up in a time where you didn't have all the social media. Where people could just talk and say whatever. Sometimes those voices get in your head. But I think there was some noise that people are going to come out with. So many people were thrilled to see, right? And I don't think anybody, I'm always impressed that I couldn't do it. I could never get on stage. Be that vulnerable. So I'm always impressed when anybody can. Period. I don't care because I sing in all the keys. I'm never in tune. So I'm always impressed.
Sing it on the key.
I like it.
I'm impressed with anybody that has that kind of talent, first of all. And yes, I used to play piano and flute, but I do better with a lot of people, right? So anybody that can do that and have that kind of showmanship and that kind of confidence, impresses the hell out of me.
I'm glad to hear that they're still kicking ass.
And the vocals were there. They were on, and they didn't need auto-tuner. They didn't need a sound guy to really kind of...
I'm old school. Like the real... I like the real.
It was gritty. It was raw. It was fast. It was loud. It was high energy. And the crowd was with them.
Cool.
It was great.
That's awesome.
I think this is what he needed. And the crowd done a lot. With the energy.
It was vibe off each other. Band does better if the crowd's kicking ass, and then vice versa. It just keeps going until it's boring.
That's how I felt.
And Megadeth, I actually cried at Megadeth. I don't think I've ever cried at a metal show. So it was at the played in Hollywood.
Oh, cool.
But just the stuff Dave has gone through over
Yeah.
the years. My
Didn't he have
first
throat cancer or something?
and then the stuff he's been through with all
Yeah.
the bands and how people have treated him. It's the first chance, believe it or not, I've ever actually gotten to see that.
Yeah.
It's always just been where I've been in a different place or had work obligations, or here I am. Not only did they shred, but he was such a class act and just on it.
Yeah.
At the end of the show, when he said, "You've been great and we've been Megadeth," I actually teared up.
Yeah.
But I was like, and people start leaving. They brought the little his coat out to a robe to wrap him in. I had to stand there a minute
Yeah.
get myself. And I'm like, I've never cried at a concert and at a metal show. I had to take him in.
That's awesome. That's
It
awesome.
caught me off guard. So,
With Lamb of God at T-Mobile Arena a couple years ago. We're friends with Lamb of God from doing shows with those guys. And Randy texted me that morning. He said, I got you on the guest list if you want to come. Hell yeah. So we had to go check it out. Megadeth was headlining because I think
so
it was a
good.
great tour.
So good. They played with Mudvayne.
Cool.
And he got emotional. It was an emotional night.
Singer from Mudvayne's name was Chad. I met him once in Des Moines when he was singing for Hell Yeah. And we were supposed to open for Mudvayne a couple of times, and they always canceled for some reason.
Oh,
And one of the shows was on the Smokeout Festival in LA. B-Rail from Cypress Hill invited us to attend their festival down there at the LA Coliseum. And it was cool because Mudvayne, Pennywise, Kitty, Everlast, and Taproot, and Bone Thugs and Harmony, and Poison. All these playing.
heck yeah.
It was metal meets rap, all
Yeah.
kinds of punk rock. And then Cypress Hill, and then the headliner. This is my bragging rights. We opened the main stage at noon. The side stage was called. We opened the main stage. Who closed it at midnight? Snoop Dogg.
So we got to open for Snoop Dogg. Oh man.
We never met him.
Yeah.
But we were backstage with Bone Thugs and Harmony. They were holding up Heinekens with their teeth. I'm like, oh man. And then they shut the door because they're like, oh, sorry, Snoop Dogg's coming down the hallway. So we had the door shut and 20 dudes walk by. And then we see Snoop Dogg, like 7 feet tall, walk by, and then another 20 guys. So we were within 8 feet of them, but they had to lock us in the dressing room with Bone Thugs and Harmony so that we Snoop and his entourage could go through. But Hemlock technically opened up for
That's
him
pretty cool.
on the same stage.
Wow.
But
It's got some street cred.
yeah. But yeah, Megadeth, those guys have been around so long. And I see those videos about Dave going out in the audience and surprising some of the younger fans with Megadeth picks and
Yeah.
trying to connect with the next generation of metalheads. That gives me more respect for 'em. Same thing with Lamb of God. When we played with them up in Fargo, North Dakota, and on the Mayhem Festival, Connecticut, and we played with them at Albuquerque and Phoenix. And we just done a bunch of shows. When we went to Kansas City, we weren't on the show, but we just went and hung out. They put us on the guest list. I told Randy and the guys, I'm sober. I'll drive you to see up the road at the Riot Room. And it's Brittany Fox. I was like, no way. I'm like, I'll drive. We'll go up the road to Brittany Fox. So we were out standing, me and Randy from Lamb of God, probably about 200 feet down the alley. There was a gate and security guards, 30 or 40 kids. Randy was like, let's go down there and go sign some shit and go say hi to those kids down there. You know, it was Randy's like, and so we walked down there. A few people recognized us from the Midwest. Me and Randy signed autographs and took pictures. And then after everybody got the autographs and stuff, they climbed in our old Hemlock van. Randy, I think Mark, 2 guys from Children of Bodom, the Hemlock dudes. Our old guitar player, Mike, used to love to draw Star Wars characters in our as dicks. So he drew Dick Vader. So it looked like Darth Vader, and Joe Dick, and R2 Dick 2, and all these different dicks. And it was in our van drawn with Sharpie. And Randy was like, what the hell's wrong? So he gave me a Sharpie, drew Bobo Cock on our dashboard outside it, Dr. Randall Blythe. We don't have that van anymore. Randy from Lamb of God drew Bobo Fett as a dick on our dash. The transmission went out and we got rid of it. But I should have taken the glove box off.
You could have auctioned it off. I saw the
Exactly.
auction for the new band.
Those guys are legit stand-up guys. It makes me love Lamb of God even more. They take that time to say hi to fans and appreciate. I've seen more and more things where it's kind of like Slayer retiree handed off the flag to Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to get Slayer status, but they are the next runner-up. Slayer's doing a couple of festival shows. Kerry King's a legit dude. He invited us to his house, and we were hanging out with him and his wife.
He lived
Just-
here for a while.
Did they move? Actually, we were gone a lot. They lived in California near Anaheim. They talked about building a house in Henderson. She told me to decide where they wanted to have a pull-in round driveway with the big circle in the middle that had a pentagram that you could light with propane. I like, no way.
I don't know if he did that,
I don't know if I got that far.
but I know I saw him in some stores for a while, and then now he's on tour. So
I think they moved out to the East Coast, but I would love if he came to Henderson because he's legit. We hung out in his house and he treated us like friends, and we're trying not to get goosebumps. We were in high school that we were, So he was like, hey, John, I know you don't drink, but I want to pour shots for you and I want to drink your shit. I'm like, it's cool. He knows me by name. I mean, we did shows with him, but they did shows with so many bands, and he remembered us. It was cool. We gave him a Hemlock shirt, wearing it in the photo with us, and that he invited us to their house. You don't got to do that when you're Kerry King, but we were hanging out, and he's like, "Want to hear the new Slayer album?" But the Riffs was going to come out.
Oh wow!
It doesn't have vocals on it yet, but I'll show you one of it. So he had those little Marshall amp that he plugged his laptop into in his kitchen, and we're like, "Slayer album, it's Kerry King's kitchen."
Be cool.
And my wife was there with this. And then Kerry King's wife is a firecracker, Aisha. She's so cool and funny. She's even got pentagrams tattooed in her armpit. She's just perfect for Kerry. It's so crazy. But I love her. Jill, my wife thinks she's all, you don't want to a Slayer album. That's for boys. Let's go do some girl shit. Talk about tampons and stuff. It was just so funny and true. And we were like, this is hilarious. But she actually wanted to. My wife loves floor plans and houses. Used to do like some drawings and stuff. So I showed her the tour of the house and showed her the bathtub, staircase, how they designed the house and just this and that, how they did the remodel. Then after we got a half tour of all of it, because we were busy listening to the new Slayer album at the time. And they had this staircase that went up, and there was this really cool chair sitting on the landing of the middle part of the stairs that twisted. And there's this creepy old, like, dummy looking, like, full size mannequins. Oh, rad. What's this about? Cool. Marilyn gave it to us out on the label. That's crazy stuff. And then Aisha's teasing Kerry King, and they had their first album, the Show No Mercy painting up on the wall. No way, that's like the original one. And she's all, Kerry, tell him where you had it. He's all, I just had a rubber band around it in storage, almost a garbage can in the garage. And my wife, she was like, you should frame that, get it up. And they had the Christ Illusion painting in their house that didn't even have the Slayer logo on it. It was the actual oil-based painting. Like, it's like Slayer music. It's so cool. Then he gave me 2 shirts when we went to dinner with him. He invited us, and he said, I got these Slayer shirts for you, Chad, if you want them. And I'm still freaking out. They felt me by name. We're just sitting there talking about movies and sports. And when I was asking him about bands and how he loved King Diamond and Venom, he's all, they're like extra quality shirts. I get them made for me. I get a dozen of each design to wear on stage. Cut the sleeves off. They hold up better because they're thicker quality. These ones were just a box in the garage. I wanted to give you one of each design if you want. I was like, these are made for you. And now so he's just a total stand-up guy. And I love Kerry King and Slayer even more because from us doing shows with him, people ask us, I'm like, Kerry's an asshole. I'm like, no way. He's so down to earth, so cool. If you're wasted and grab him by the sleeve, and your beer on him, of course, you stand off. The first show we did with him was in St. Paul, Minnesota, at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. We're freaking out because we're over. Well, intimidating. The next day, I see Kerry King backstage. I went up, Kerry, I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to open up for you guys. It's every metalhead's dream to open for Slayer. We're on tour with you guys. This is great. He's like, hey, no problem. I've heard of you guys before. And how'd you guys do last night? I'm like, throw shit at you? I'm like, no. He's like, you guys did. He's a Slayer fan. They're crazy. He treated us like friends from the get-go. So it's cool. I wish they had moved to Henderson. I don't know if they're here now or what, but
they were here. I think they moved away.
I've heard they were in New Jersey or New York.
Yeah. So who has not played Vegas that you would like to see play here?
Who has not played here?
Yeah.
Everybody has, haven't they? When Red Hot Chili Peppers played at the Hundred, everybody, because now they all just get residencies. They're the groups that I've never seen live that I would love to play in Vegas and bummer because they played the same night we were at the House of Blues. This was years ago. My all-time band, Sade. I love Sade. And of course, it's totally different style of music, and people are always like, what? You know, Sade, my all-time favorite. Oh, man. Every album goes multi-platinum. And it's huge to do, especially these days, because nobody buys the albums anymore. It's all streamed. And they only do them like every 8 to 9 years. And I think they're 11 years or 12 years. They're due for a new album. I think they're playing at the MGM the night we played at the House of Blues. I know all of their songs. I love it. Great voice.
What's a song you really liked when you were younger, but maybe doesn't hold the same appeal now that you're older?
That's a good question. I should have prepared. I'm like a modern day hippie without the drugs, and I shower a lot more, but I also am never one to critique music because it's art, it's objective. Even if it sounds like garbage, it might have connected with somebody or mean something to them. So I honestly don't.
Okay.
I mean, there's songs that the recordings don't hold up as good, like in comparison, but then also that was part of what your era was. Like when we were talking about the Misfits, those albums sound like garbage because they were recorded so long ago.
Right.
But the songs, you hear the crackle of the hiss, barely hear the vocal. It takes you back to high school or junior high. They paved the way for so many punk bands. So the quality might not have held up. Songs were there.
Okay.
So, I mean, it depends. If you're going for quality, there's certain ones, but then you also could hear something like an old Eddie Money song like that. Baseline sounds so good when you listen to it on vinyl, but when you listen to it on your phone, it's not there.
Yeah.
And even some old Elton John vinyls haven't really hurt to that level. So it also depends on what medium you're listening to it on too.
Okay. Let me ask you about Death Clock later.
I do Death Clock. I have a love and a hate for them because they took our friends in Chimera on tour with them. And it's crazy because sold so much merch and outsold Chimera and outsold all this stuff. And it's like a joke band, but it's also amazing because the guys shred like
I
just
loved the cartoon.
Oh, I love it.
You know,
I just missed
it's
a cartoon.
It's so crazy, but they came out of nowhere.
Metalocalypse. Please come back.
And they made a cartoon and it blew up. But then a band like Chimera, they blinded it for years. They didn't have a cartoon and outsold it. I love Metalocalypse. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking stuff because I just got done saying that. Props to them because that Brandon Smalls figured out a way. And I love cartoons too.
But just the humor of
everything. It's like the Spinal Tap of cartoons.
Thing you said just made me think of Nathan and
Pickle and how ridiculous we're going to record on water. They got real musicians to play.
They
And Gene
did.
Oakland, I think, was the drummer.
And then they kept talking about and there's nods to everybody, even George Corpse Grinder. He did vocals for their head security.
It's amazing. I love it. But then also, I guess you go back a few years back, and Beavis and Butthead was also an introduction to so many bands like Prong.
They were.
And a lot of people found out about Pantera because of Beavis and Butthead. They had another cartoon that got people into metal. So props to Metalocalypse. So many people saw the cartoon and went and might not have ever heard Corpse Grinder before.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, why is it Cannibal Corpse at least as big as Metalocalypse? It's the same dude.
Right.
So there's a part of it that I'm like, I get it because cartoons and TV, you can get away with more. You can say so much on Family Guy, Adult Swim, but as a person, you'll get canceled. It's insane.
Different when it's animated.
Yeah. South Park's proof of that. And I love South Park.
I have Professor Chaos.
We're going to go to Casa Bonita this weekend. That was a real place.
Yeah.
In Denver. And we're going to
Oh, very
my birthday's coming. We're going to go there. We went there once before, but the guys from South Park bought it. So now when you go there, there's like little South Park characters and stuff.
Well, and they have a South Park convention every year too.
Really?
They have their own band.
Those guys
are hilarious.
I love
They're
cartoons.
brilliant.
I have a huge toy collection. Artwork wise, lyrically, I take the lyrics seriously and try to stay optimistic because the world's so negative and crazy. Our song, like, nobody knows what a killer looks like.
I love that song.
Don't judge a book by the cover. But then all the metal is, oh, yeah, killer, this and that. And I'm like, no, it talks about you never know who your neighbor might be. I try to write optimistic lyrics, positive, don't give up. But artwork wise, so many bands just do a typical skull with a snake through it. I love skulls. I draw them all the time. But then we might have another shirt that I drew one of Homer Simpson ripping his shirt open and it has a big Hemlock H on his chest. Young Hemlock. We sold those shirts like crazy. It was on a blue shirt. I love colors and vibrance. I drew a McDonald's shirt where it said Hemlock, but the end with Hemlock was a McDonald's origin. And it said, I'm loving it. And I drew all the different squares on the front and very similar to Garbage Pail Kid. But I drew Ronald McDonald's and a meat grinder. I drew Grimace with the bullet. He had shot himself in the forehead. The Fry Guys on the back were on fire. We sold those things like hotcakes all through Europe, all through America. It was just a funny, silly shirt. Just a little nod to some stuff we grew up with. We have a couple of serious designs where there's the skull or there's the cool, like, Weezer or whatever. But then we always have one or two colorful shirts or something more silly or whatever. So I spiked down a little bit for everybody because I love Gumby. I love Cannibal Corpse. I've even painted bowling ball pins before where I painted Gumby and Pokey and wrote Hemlock and did it and autographed it. had more pages with Beastman from He-Man and different stuff. And then we even have our 80s video where we have the throwback. We have a song called The Wrong Song. Yeah. We thought it was funny. So I dressed up like Pee Wee Herman and we're riding bicycles. And then my brother dressed up like Mr. T and Madonna. And then I was Michael Jackson breakdancing. And our other guitar player was Axl Rose. And it's just all these throwback because it was just funny stuff we grew up with. So the video is colorful and fun, but the lyrics are more serious and positive.
Do you look at too often at your videos? Do I bring the commentary often?
No.
I was looking at several of the videos and the stickers. I was reading a lot of the commentary. The stickers are still around town. People are on the stickers, didn't know what they were. So I pull up YouTube and now I'm here. I'm on my man. I got to chat that. I'll go.
I don't watch our videos often, maybe twice a year. I'll like comments and trying to get back to people, but I'm so busy booking tours. It's a 2-month tour. It takes 2 or 3 months to book it. So there's 4 or 5 months out of the year just nonstop because we don't have a booking agent. We don't have a manager. We don't have a record label. We don't have roadies. We do it all ourselves. It's usually the 4 of us and my wife. We keep trudging. Even when we were on tour with Slayer, we were driving ourselves and they have night drivers. So I'm like, I've been awake for 2.5 days. Here's some more energy drinks. But you get on stage and you're riding that high because you're opening for Slayer. By day 2.5, I felt like a zombie. We were in our van before we had our bus. I'd take a nap, but it was so hot. I can't sleep in the van. I put in earplugs. My wife was selling merch. I crawled underneath the stage when Slayer was playing and laid on the cold concrete. I took a nap. I was zombie. I slept underneath Slayer. They rocked me to sleep. And then the next day, I think we had another show down in Illinois with Hatebreed because they had a makeup date and Slayer wasn't playing. And I'm like, well, I got to drive 11 hours south and then 12 hours back. I took a nap underneath Slayer while they rocked. It was underneath the stage, cold concrete. It's great.
Do you have a song or album that you think is the most underrated? Anybody?
That goes back to Propane.
Okay.
They are so awesome and their songs are so good and the lyrics are great and you just hear a riff and vocals and everything. I love their self-titled album, but they have 15 albums. Listen to every single album. They're all great. Faith No More had a huge success compared to other bands. Propane is so underrated. Other bands like Hatebreed had a good run and got big, but Propane should be as big as Pantera. I love them.
Okay. Is there, I know you mentioned Sade, but is there an album that you enjoy that most people might be surprised that you like?
I love Amy Winehouse. I love Corinne Bailey Rae. I love Broods. There's a girl from Australia named Joy. I listen to her all the time. I love Alicia Keys. Her voice carries the song. She plays the piano and you're like, really all it is, there's music there, but the music you don't really pay attention to as much. You hear the drums and you hear her voice and her voice is like its own instrument within itself. The way she carries her melodies. I love Alicia Keys. I love rap, especially 90s rap, like DMX and Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. I also love Ludacris and Nelly, stuff that might shock people. I'm not going to change the channel if Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber comes on because they're catchy songs. I mean, good music is good music, but it depends what you're in the mood for. And I try to tell people it's funny because music, especially with metalheads, they categorize. But it's a quick story. They categorize. We toured with Meshuggah and Ministry. It was industrial, math metal, groove metal. I love different styles. Hemlock always takes little bits and pieces. I listen to Lord all the time. Yeah. She's got a great voice, same thing, just super soulful. And when she came out, she was like 17 years old. I'm like, how do you sing like that when you're 7? I mean, it's just great. She had so many years in her voice and she was so young. But people categorize music and it's weird because but if you're not listening to Cannibal Corpse, you're not a true metalhead. And I'm like, metal is just another form of art. I think Slaughter to Prevail is awesome. Alex Terrible, his voice is so guttural and strong. Some people go real low, but it's like a whisper. It has so much power, like a grizzly bear yelling in your face, and it's just so cool. But there's so many categories, and you're not a purist because you're not listening to TSOL or the original stuff. But good music is good music. Yeah. If you're going to watch Friday the 13th in The Notebook, Schindler's List, Indiana Jones, and why can't people be open-minded to music like they are with movies? It's entertainment. I mean, Cannibal Corpse is entertainment compared to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has a bigger market because she's the biggest in the world. But I love Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was back in the day. And so to me, I try to always tell everybody, I'm like, good music is good music. It connects and it can take you to a place, a memory, or some kind of cool concert, or maybe you made friends at that concert. There's people that have met at Hemlock concerts that are now married with kids because they met at a Hemlock concert. It's crazy how different people connect. 3 or 4 people that I know of that have told me. One of the stories was, it's a crazy story. This guy had a loaded gun. He was walking down the river to kill himself, shoot himself. And he said on his headphones, one of the Hemlock songs came on, and he threw the loaded gun into the river, and he's alive because of our music. Wow. Another friend wanted to kill himself and listened to A Weak Man's Suicide. It was an anti-suicide song. And it talks about how you should never give up because you never know what it's going to do to your family and your friends. And there's so much more to life. Life is too short. He said Hemlock saved his life. And it's crazy how many people connect with it. I write lyrics that mean something, an extension of who I am. They get Hemlock tattoos. I'm like, that's inked for life. At least 500 or 600 people that have Hemlock tattoos. It's cool that music can connect, whether it's Eddie Money, Sepultura, Huey Lewis, or Guttural Secrete. I mean, good music is good music. So I try to bring that up to everybody. I'm like, it's like movies. You might be in the mood to go watch Dexter.
Yeah.
And then you might go watch Bambi the next day. Why not?
You're right.
I love it all. Life's too short. Stop categorizing. Just love life and enjoy it all.
Was there a record that means the most to you?
All the Hemlock albums mean the most to me because they're chapters of our life.
Is there a song you think has the greatest build-up?
Oh, that's a good one. There's so many, but the first one that popped in my mind, and there's probably another 30 of them that refused, has The Shape of Things to Come. Then it goes, and that's great. And but then, of course, you have Korn with the little ride in the build. Oh, are you ready? And we got to open up for those guys. They changed the music genre. But then you hear some of those old Metallica. I mean, it just depends. There's so many songs. You can start a mosh pit just by, I've seen local bands do it before really what we're talking. That's the player intro. And you're like, that's 3 notes. Just started moshing.
They go crazy.
Yeah. So the strongest 3 notes ever, if you know it's Slayer.
Okay. If you had to pick a song represent Vegas, what would you pick?
Viva Las Vegas from Elvis.
Okay.
I love it. We used it as our intro for a while.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What is one Vegas artist album that you think everyone should have in their collection?
Vegas artist other than Hemlock.
What could be Hemlock?
The Killers get props from me because they were from here. The Imagine Dragons, I give them props too. They are super catchy and I love the band, but I know a couple of them are transplants.
Oh,
I guess we're transplants too. Henderson Vegas sing with 5 Finger Death Punch. A couple of guys live here now.
Disco.
I forgot about Panic. Those guys were huge. I don't know if they do things anymore, but I know he did that song with Taylor Swift. It was ginormous and they were huge themselves.
Yeah.
We were on tour in Japan and the dude was interviewing me and I didn't know it until after the interview that he knew English, but he was interviewing me in Japanese because he wanted to get my natural reaction. So a translator, and I had to keep going. And then one of the questions I remember, he was like, and it was when Escape to Fate was new. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I didn't know who they were at the time. I said, I've heard of those guys. I don't know them personally because we were on tour all the time, but they started blowing up and now they're big too. But
yeah,
there was a lot of bands back in the 90s that were underground, like Battery Ton, 187, and Pig Named Jody. And there was a bunch of bands. There was a couple bands from Boulder City that we used to play with all the time. Mindset Rage.
Slaughter from here.
Slaughter's one of the biggest bands. But Mindset Rage from Boulder City sounded like Carcass. They were great. We would do shows with them. And Unconscious Knowledge was more like a punk rock band. We would always do Unconscious Knowledge, Mindset Rage, and Hemlock. It was great because you got punk. You got more like the thrash metal or speed metal, whatever, a Carcass, and then Hemlock with groove metal. It was cool. There was a band called Lift from around here. They changed their name. There was another band, Forlorn. They were good. Spoiled Milk. They were kind of like the punk metal band. They were rad. So we would do shows with those guys all the time. And Fried Green is an old school punk band that we would do shows with back in the day. But we would do a lot of shows with Pig Named Jody because those guys connected with us and they were friends with us. And I think their part player used to be in Pap Smear. The singer from Napalm Death is from, so they're not considered a Vegas band. I'm talking about a lot of 90s bands that were around. And I know there's some hardcore bands that we're hardly ever here because we're always on tour. I met a cool hardcore band named Mugatu. I saw them at the Henderson area. Oh, they were rad. There was a band named Curl Up and Dive and Destruction of a Rose. They were good. You got kind of big for a minute.
Now,
Yeah,
I got a DJ.
and you plug in your gig stick and push play and you get millions of dollars. I'm talking about bands. I love DJs too, especially when they create their own beats. But so many cheat. I like when people have the artistic and the creative part of it, because if you're going to take somebody else's song and sample it, that's like taking the Mona Lisa and putting a mohawk on it and thinking you're famous. The Mona Lisa is the Mona Lisa. Hemlock's never done a cover song. And people ask all the time, they're like, just cover a Dio song or do like George Michael, like how Limp Bizkit did. I love those songs, but that's not Hemlock. I always write lyrics from my heart that mean something. And it's funny because Devil Driver has Death's Cold Chamber, and Devil Driver has so many solid songs. And they did a cover of that song, Sail. You're familiar with the song. They did a cover of it. When we toured with Devil Driver, there were so many people that didn't care about the Devil Driver music. They just wanted to hear that one cover song. It almost ruins your original work when you get known for a cover song. Now, if you're Metallica and you're already big, it's a different story. But when you get big off of somebody else's song and that's all they really know you for, so
That's not the same.
So, but do you think there's one that everybody should have in their collection?
that was the question.
Or are you stalling?
No. So I gave you the disclaimer up front that I ramble on. I drink caffeine and I like to tell stories about the good old days. But the good old days are also now. I live every day like I smile at the end of every day. I try to make the most out of it and have fun. My brain still thinks I'm 20 years old. As far as albums from here in town, from a Vegas artist, I think you should go back and get that Mindset Rage. We're born and bred. We're battle born. We came from Henderson. We came from Vegas. We played all the bars, the Night Owls. We played club rock. But that Mindset Rage stuff was cool and ahead of its time back in the day. And they never really ventured out of Vegas. We've been trying to drag people out of town. I also had to give a prop to Guttural Secrete. If you're really into extreme and just just heavy and fast drums.
I told Mike I was not old enough to listen to Guttural Secrete.
There's a band called The Vermin. They're punk rock, kind of rockabilly. They're really rad. You should check them out. But I don't know, Slaughter. They've got great. They were on MTV. I mean, that don't have it out to tour. Are they?
Yeah.
Dana Straub was super nice. My mom met his wife, and we wrote letters back and forth with Dana Straub for a minute, just messages back and forth. But so I don't have an exact one, but I'm giving props to a lot of old school and a couple of new school. And I know there are others, a band named Mastiff that we play with a lot. I don't know if you know them, Mastiv, Mastiff. Play with them. And there was another band called Nebula X that we're friends with, and we would do some shows. But so many bands come out and they're around for 3 or 4 years and they break up and disappear. So it's hard to keep track of the newer ones. I think there's a band called Through the Fire from Vegas. I don't know if they're transplants or born and bred here.
Tell us what you got going on right now. You're heading out.
Sitting in your office doing podcasts.
After this, you got a birthday coming up. This will probably air after that.
I'm going to be 47, but my brain thinks I'm 20.
All right.
When I was 15 years old, I remember my dad asking, I want to try and help you out with anything, with your art, with whatever. If you want to start a screen printing business or an airbrush shop at the swap meet or whatever you want to do, I want to help you. I was like, yeah, I just want to. And I remember telling him that when I was young, and I was kind of being funny and a little bit of a smart ass, but it was true. That's what I wanted to do. And in high school, my art teacher, Mr. McLaughlin, was like, you should sign. And I had another art teacher named Miss Allison, and they both told me that you should sign up for college. You would get scholarships and you would go for free. You're one of the better ones in the class. I think you would get a full free ride, whatever college you wanted to travel, play music, and connect with people past up college. And I worked at a tattoo shop down on Fremont Street called Swag, and I never did the tattoos. I ran the register, and I would draw his eyes for people, and they're like, you should do tattoos. You would make so much money. I was like, I understand this. And I knew as a kid, I was like 17 or 18, that I knew if I start doing tattoos, I'll make good money and I'll never get out of it. I want to rock and roll. And I've been telling people that for years. And here I am, going to be 47. And that's what I'm doing. I'm rocking and rolling.
You get to travel.
We just got back. We were over in Spain and Portugal for 10 days on a vacation after our tour. I book all our tours. And of course, I wish it was easier. And I would gladly pay a booking agent to do a good job. Every booking we've tried doing in the past, going to pay you to do a worse job than what I can do because I love it and it means something to me. And I know where we do good. I see a market where we're struggling. I'm like, I'm going to go back and pay our dues. Even after 30 years,
We'll care about your business as much as you.
to Albany, New York, Miami, Florida, everywhere. We went to Maine last year. And
My first professorship was in Maine.
really,
Mhm.
awesome.
Picture postcard, beautiful.
Now we played in Bangor and Portland.
I taught in Farmington, Maine, University of Maine, Farmington.
I saw that on the maps. Think of Farmington, New Mexico. I lived there. We played in Farmington, New Mexico. We played in Flora Vista. We played in, what's the other one that's right there?
Did you play in Shiprock?
We played in Shiprock at the Boys and Girls Club. And we would have like 300 or 400 Native Americans show up.
Yes, you did, because they have a huge amount
I love
of
this.
the indigenous people.
Yeah.
Love their mountain.
We play up in Warm Springs, Oregon, up on the res up
Yeah.
there, the Blackfoot area, the tribes. I mean,
Yeah.
so we've connected and made so many friends around the world. And I book our tours. So it's so much work and it's so crazy. And because I would make way more money doing anything else other than this,
Yeah.
but I never have done it for the money. And when we play on stage, people see us smiling and loving it.
Yeah.
They can tell it's real. That's why the Hemlock albums mean the most to me, is because it's actually lyrics that come from my heart and I mean them and believe them. I don't just write a song because I'm like, all right, it's song. That's not what we do. It's an extension of the lifestyle. It's part of me.
How do you pick which songs to put on the set list?
We have
What-
so many songs,
You have-
hundreds, and I gave up on writing set lists a long time ago. So I'm like, all right, Brian, you write the set list, because he gets bored too. I would be the type to pick a set list and I would print it out and we would play that throughout the tour. And he brought up the point to where when you do that, so many bands do that and it becomes routine. So there's probably at least 7 songs that we almost have to play. We don't have to, but if we don't play them, then people are like, why didn't you play them? No time for sorrow. There's a few songs we have to play.
I like.
We're a few content. Yeah. I pass the reins off to him and our other guitar player, Jared, usually write down the set list. So we'll have the 7 or 8 songs that are like the core that we have to play.
Yeah.
And they'll take another 40 or 50 songs that we know, because there's certain songs that also go over live better, because the faster one gets circle pit going.
Sure.
The groove one, the crowd jump in. You want the ones with the big chant through the scream alarms or whatever. And then some of the other ones are more for album. The last tour we did, 134 shows in 1 year. We had about 50 songs we rotated. We played the core 7, but it's always different. And then that way also, if somebody comes to our show in Phoenix, Arizona, and then Flagstaff, they get a different set. It stays more real because you're not going through the motions. You're not going through. So we just rotate through. But it also is crazy because when you're rehearsing for the tour, you're like, a couple of these songs I haven't played in 8 years. I sit in my office and I write to remember all the words. That's a lot of memory, muscle memory, doing it while jumping around, being a frontman, pulling my dreads, headbanging, interacting with the crowd. People always tell me they like Hemlock on album, but love Hemlock live. It means that much more. You can feel the passion and the love for it. 31 years into it.
How taxing is that on your voice?
I do all right. The monitors are good. I'm old school. If you're only doing an hour a day, I can do it. But when we do an album, there's been times where we've been on a money crunch. We'll try to do 12 songs in a day and my throat's a little bit scratchy or whatever. So I've learned to not push myself that much. I know my limits to 1 hour or 2 a day. When recording an album, you want to give your A game, getting guttural, heavy, high, and pushing as much as you can. So I'll save certain things. We'll do bass guitar up to this point. I'll stop and do vocals, and the next day I'll do lead guitar parts. I try to schedule it out now because I've learned the hard way. If monitors live, I push harder because I can't hear myself. Nowadays, they put in internal compressors in the speakers to where you don't blow the speakers.
Okay.
Because if you hold your microphone and you're screaming, you might blow their speakers. Because I play bass guitar, my microphone stands on the stand, except for one song that we do where I shove the mic in my mouth. And I always give the sound guy a warning about that one because I don't want to blow their speakers.
Sure.
What happens is you're talking, you're like, check, all right, that sounds good. And then you go, and it squashes the volume down. So it feels like I just packed. I smoke. I don't smoke. I ask the sound guy, can you pull the compression off? And we pull it out of the PA system, but some monitors have it built in. Modern technology is working against people that scream. When I can feel and hear my vocals coming back, I can get so A game on the lows and the mids. The last Las Vegas show, drank too many energy drinks. My brother's like, how many songs you want to play? I'm like, I don't know, 23 with 3 bonuses. Most bands will do like 15 songs,
right,
16 songs. And we're like, we want to give more. So 23. And we were playing. We had the song. And I don't like to play this where we're like, City of Las Vegas, and you walk up the stage, the lights go down, and then you wait for him to chant to come back. And when you force out an encore, if it's natural, we'll do it. I'm usually like, you guys want to hear another one? We wanted to play 34 songs. It was 2 hours straight, but my monitors were A game and the crowd was raging. It was insane. We went hard. At the end of the night, my brother, what the heck? Our other guitar players were springing around like on trampolines. We were just lost and having fun, and it felt natural. And I was like, you're right. Probably should have kept to 23 or 24 songs, because you also don't want to physically burn the audience on their eardrums and attention span. But they were loving it. I was having fun, so we played a lot. It's good. We did 2 hours. Yeah, it's good. You were fun. My monitors were good. So what I've had to do now, because so many clubs that we go to, I'm like, these wires, they're nice, but as soon as you scream, so if you're singing the first, but as soon as you start, at least 40% of your volume goes away. You have to push twice as hard. Yeah. So we're sponsored from PV amplifiers, so I was able to get a new monitor from them, and it has the built-in compression, but it has a volume knob on the back. So usually I get them to set their monitors, and then I plug in my bonus monitor. I just crank the volume up on it, because then if I blow it, it's 11. I don't care. I'm like, if I blow it, it's mine. So there we go. I don't care if I blow it. I want to scream at myself, because I feel like I can give the audience more of a better performance, vocally and physically. I've never had voice training. I probably have vocal cords as thick as my thumb.
Like George's neck.
His neck is out of control.
His neck is...
He's Ram Man for him.
Yeah, it keeps getting bigger than his head now.
Yeah.
Wow. Chad, you've been a delight. Thank you for answering my questions. We waited through all of them.
Sweet.
Thank you for listening to Sin City Soundwaves. Support us by telling your friends to listen and like us. If you know somebody who could be on the podcast, send them my way. Please give us a follow on social media, and please recommend us to your friends and colleagues.
Thank you.
To follow the Sin City Soundwaves podcast on our social media at Facebook, Instagram, Linktree, and X. Sin City Soundwaves podcast is a production of Thirsty Sin Productions, created, hosted, mixed, and engineered by Denise Shaw, PhD, produced and written by Denise Shaw, PhD. Find out more about former and upcoming Sin City Soundwaves podcast episodes and our sponsors on all social media platforms through the Sin City Soundwaves podcast link tree.